They are refusing to do their job. They're grasping for straws. They're trying to make this about political tabloids and political intrigue. We're sick of leaders who only want to spend their time talking about that instead of talking about real issues that affect our lives. Instead of talking about health care, instead of talking about wages, instead of talking about having air that's drinkable.
Ah, yes, the old drinkable air and breathable water. I'd like to give her an opportunity to inhale a lot of water. Would you see, the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? What was the first part that she had there? She had some pretty good stuff in there. That is what air that is drinkable, water that is breathable. They're in charge of the environment. They're making everything better. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the genius of the Democrat Party, as she is widely known. Smart little cookie. You know, you call her a cookie. Can you call her a cookie? She's a little Pop-Tart, isn't she? Perky this and that. Well, a very good Thursday to you, and welcome back. I didn't even know we were going to open with that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez soundbite. I didn't know what was coming, but the drinkable and the breathable, what is the whole thing? And I got a couple of uses of terms in there that I don't think most of us use on an ordinary kind of day in, day out basis, not the language that I'm likely to use.
They are refusing to do their job. They're grasping for straws.
Grasping for straws. So they're grasping. They can grasp for straws. They can do that. But then, what is it? The best part, I think, and Michael was right. He said, well, hang on. The best is yet to come, because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is addressing an anxious nation.
Instead of talking about health care, instead of talking about wages, instead of talking about having air that's drinkable.
Right, exactly. You know, health care and wages. They're going to fix our wages. That's what they're going to do. They're going to make everything more affordable. Everything's going to be more affordable, except everything that you buy. They're not going to have you know how that goes. Very, very good. That's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's wonderful. She should really be out in the street rioting and firebombing Jews or attacking the police or something, like a normal Democrat. And she can smile for the cameras and push in the dimples on her cheeks and be perky. She could be perky because, you know, that's how she was a bartender. Then she was a member of Congress. It's an amazing country we have here. So we have that, and it is day 16 of the Schumer shutdown of the Democrat Party and their government shutdown, because they love the government shutdown. Boy, do they love the government shutdown. They voted for it again yesterday. The Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer. What do we have, Michael? 3 Democrats voted to reopen the government. 3 Democrats and only 3 Democrats voted to reopen the government. The Lizard King, Chuck Schumer, he led the charge on Fort Sumter yesterday, where they said, oh, no, we've got to keep the government shut down because Obamacare is so great that we need another $1 trillion or $1.5 trillion to add to the national debt to bail out Obamacare again. And we've got to keep bailing out Obamacare because it's so great. As the Washington Post said, it turns out the Affordable Care Act was never affordable. Never affordable. You can't afford it. But since we're already $37 trillion in debt, we're behaving like crackheads as a nation. You know, if they like to use the word community, the community of nations, we are the car down at the end of the block we're the house at the end of the block with cars up on cinder blocks and the crackhead son with the tattoos on his face. That's the United States of America because of the Democrats. Day 16 of the shutdown, and the news media is fine with it. They continue to lie about it. They continue to pretend, oh, yeah, the Republican House with their all-Republican-y bill and all that, which was voted down in the Senate. And the newspapers don't say it was voted down by the Democrats, says it was voted down in the Senate, as though Chuck Schumer is a noble leader of some kind, because shutting down the government is just fine as long as the Democrats are doing it. It's a good thing. And where are the stories about little Timmy trying to get into Jellystone Park with his scout troop? Can't get in because they always do that story. But somehow that story has eluded them this time around. Extraordinary. Day 16. And again, there was a vote yesterday in the Senate. And you got these idiots like, Fang Fang's boyfriend. He had Democrat, member of the House of Representatives, having a long ongoing sexual affair with a Chinese agent that was sent here as a honeypot to infiltrate the Democrat Party. Did it. We all know about it. And we act like it's no big deal that he's got a Chinese operator named Fang Fang. But Swalwell was out there yesterday. He was knocking on doors and trying to blame the Speaker of the House because the Speaker of the House and the House, they've already passed this bill and moved it over to the Senate. And the Democrats in the Senate have locked it up. And these idiots in the Congress, we have a lot of unintelligent people in the Congress. And Eric Swalwell is only one of them, but at least he's a Chinese operative. He is really the Manchurian candidate. Manchuria is in China, but never mind that. He is the Manchurian candidate, and that's okay. And he was out there yelling yesterday and making videos of himself, or having somebody make a video of him, where he's pounding on the door at the Speaker's office because he demands that the House of Representatives come back from recess so they could pass the bill again, which they've already passed, and move it over to the Senate again, which they've already done, so that Chuck Schumer could vote it down another 9 times and keep the government closed for 16 days while the news media wrings their hands and says, oh, no, it could be the longest shutdown in history because Republicans or something like that. We live in a filthy, corrupt culture, and the news media is certainly one of the driving forces in that corruption, or cultural corruption. But there's some good news. Did you see that NBC, the news, that they have a news division over there, and they have like the Reverend Al Sharpton as one of their journalists. He's an award-winning journalist. And it turns out that NBC fake news is going to have to start laying people off. They're going to be laying people off. And they don't want to lay people off, although maybe they do. But they're going to be laying people off. And it gets more ridiculous because now, I mean, if they just reported the news and did journalism, they got all these TV channels all over the place, and network broadcast TV and cable TV and MS-13, DNC and CNBC, and they got all these various things. But in any case, they're going to have to start laying people off. And yesterday we learned that they're going to have to lay off, what is the number, Michael? 160 people. 160. They're going to lay off 160 people. This headline from the Wrap says 150 people, but I saw 160 elsewhere. NBC News, 150 layoffs. Listen to this now. And everybody says, oh, no, NBC News, they have layoffs. Isn't that terrible? And it's a much larger percentage than the federal government is laying off, but the Democrats are out in the street getting naked and riding bicycles over that, doing something like that. But here's NBC News, 150 layoffs. Listen now. They're gutting things over there. Gut Black, Latino, Asian American, and LGBTQ plus diversity teams. They have First of all, let's start with the fact that at NBC Fake News, they have an LGBTQ plus diversity team, right? They have an Asian American, this is what the headline says, diversity team, and then why is it not Latino American? It's just Latino. And shouldn't it be Latinx? Because Joe Biden taught us all about Latinx. And black. And that's not Black American either. That's just black. It's not African American. It's just black. So at NBC, they have a black diversity team. That's probably not diverse because it's black, and that it's a diversity team. And they have a Latinx diversity team. And they have an Asian American, that's the only time the word American gets worked in is with Asian American, diversity team, and an LGBTQ plus. You got to have the plus in there. Otherwise, did you see that Apple TV Plus is rebranded? Did you see this? And they're rebranding. And what are they rebranding as, Michael? Apple TV. So what happened to the plus? I think that's anti-gay. I think that's homophobic. How do they do that at Apple TV? Yeah, but NBC News laying off 150, but only black people, Latino people, Asian American people, and LGBTQ people. So if you're a black, Asian, gay person working at NBC, you're pretty much fired. You're pretty much guaranteed to be fired. They couldn't possibly keep you. Even if you're plus, you could be plus and still you're gone. And here's the thing. Now, NBC News is going to be left with straight white males running the whole place. Who's left? Once you get rid of the diversity teams of the black, the Latinx, the Asian American, the LGBTQ. No, the only thing, this is what this is their discrimination thing. They've been doing it for years and years. So the only people left are straight, right, because LGBTQ, and black gone, Latino gone, Asian gone. So only white, straight white, and I haven't seen anything about gender here, but I assume that all the women are being fired too because it's NBC News. They're being laid off. That's a euphemism. They call it laid off. So the verticals, this is the Wrap writing the story. The verticals focused on black, Latino, Asian American, and LGBTQ plus groups. They will remain, but they come amid a broader shift in media away from diversity efforts. What's a diversity effort? That's try not to hire any white people. So they got the no straight white males here. And that's right. We're going to cut off your electricity one of these days. Then you'll see. And your cell phone's just not going to work anymore. Because, we have the satellites. We put them into space with rockets and technology. We invented it all. Space travel is one of our bags, straight white males. Never mind all that. But they're there, NBC, and then they say that at the Wrap, it's all about black and Latinx and Asian and LGBTQ. And then they go on to say the verticals, whatever that means, focused on black, Latino, Asian, and LGBTQ groups will remain. So wait a minute, the second line contradicts the headline, doesn't it? So really, they're probably not firing anybody. Probably everybody gets a race-based promotion of some kind, an increase in pay. I wonder what this means for the Reverend Al Charlatan, because he's one of those. I think he's one of those. It didn't have anything with people that wear purple velour or people that have gasoline-colored hair, because that'd take Jen Psaki in, too. She works over there, doesn't she? So if you get the gasoline-colored hair people, that could be another thing. Isn't that just great? Yes, it is. They are something. And the troglodytes in the Middle East, too. The Democrats are friends with the Hamas. They're terrorists from hell. And they say, you see that they're returning bodies that are not dead bodies. Stand here and take this dead body. And it was never a hostage. It's just somebody that they murdered, somebody else they murdered. Hey, we murdered him. Maybe we give him back. And they're, dragging dead bodies in plastic bags through the streets. We'll return this one. But that's not one we kidnapped and raped and murdered, Abu. And Abu says, what's the difference? Because, they're savages. So we got that going. But, yeah, they're fourth body handed over by Hamas. This is pretty amazing stuff. Was a West Bank Palestinian that they murdered. They got a Palestinian, an Arab, from the West Bank, not Gaza. Another place where the Israelis just let everybody live in peace if that's what they want. Unfortunately, it's not what they want. They get to live in this multicultural society where they have, LGBTQ not being thrown off of rooftops and murdered kind of things. But never mind that. They gave back a body of a Palestinian who's from the West Bank that they murdered, and they said, what's up with that? Now, the Palestinians, the Hamas, they're saying, are they going to disarm? Well, that's a real question because it looks like they have no intention of disarming because they're troglodytes from hell, and they're terrorists and hostage takers and murderers and rapists. And therefore, you probably shouldn't trust them very much. See how that goes? That's an old rule. My mother taught me that rule. If you know a group of armed men who are kidnapping, raping, and murdering people, my mother taught me, they're probably not the most trustworthy people that you would want to hang out with. My mother, she was a wise woman. She was. We're at 888-630-9625. Gaza, they're executing people en masse there. Sonia Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson embarrassed themselves at the Supreme Court yesterday, but they're unaware of it. That's we got that Spanberger running for governor in Virginia, still spreading the Russia hoax. Oh, and the Democrats really love Luigi Mangione. Well, do you hear the update on Luigi Mangione? The Democrats, they love murder. We're at 888-630-9625. So yes, the troglodytes from hell are they disarming? They don't appear to be disarming. They are holding mass executions, shooting people in the head and tying them up and lining them up, as Islamists are fond of doing. The left, they're good at that too. That's amazing. All right, let us go to the telephones before we get back to all the big news stories of the day, and there are many. Let us go to let's go to Mark, calling from Springfield, Virginia. Mark, you are on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris. It's so good to talk to you again. Hey, I just heard you mention something. Two quick things, really, and I'll make it quicker than I made it with Jasmine, I promise. But here's the thing. I just don't see how we, America, that is, President Trump, or Israel, can even trust Hamas. I mean, they put babies in microwaves. How, as far as I'm concerned, Chris, there's no way you could trust somebody like that. Secondly, you mentioned, and I remember the velour suits of Al Sharpton back in the day. And back in those days, I was working in D.C., and I happened to have a boss who was a New York Italian, and of course Catholic, and I happened to be Baptist. And we heard Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson on the radio, and he looked at me, and he turned the radio down and looked at me, and he says, Mark, he says, you're Baptist. He says, these guys are reverends. Aren't they supposed to have churches? And I said, yeah, that's a good question, Frank.
Well, you know, the Reverend Al Sharpton, not really a man of the church, a man of God, a man of the cloth. He started anti-Semitic riots in Crown Heights in Brooklyn. Got at least one person murdered in those riots. He gave us the Tawana Brawley hoax, the Tawana Brawley fraud, which was designed to create a race war in the United States. And he is, you know, a seven-figure journalist at NBC Fake News. And I'll bet $1 he won't be laid off. Well, what do you want to bet on that? I know nobody would want to bet on that, but
yeah.
You know.
No, that's correct. Yeah, it's so amazing. And you use the right word, charlatan. That's exactly what he and Jesse Jackson are.
Yeah, that's fact. Yeah, Jesse Jackson invented it all. Al Sharpton took it to another kind of drug-crazed level. And now the Democrat Party, they're fine with all that. Yeah, and you're right, the Hamas people putting the baby in the oven. They got the old baby in the oven. Hey, it's small enough, we can put this baby in the oven. And that's what these guys do. They're savages, and you're right. Can Israel trust Hamas? No. Can Trump trust Hamas? No. The United States, America, can anybody trust Hamas? The answer is clearly no.
Y'all, pardon me. I do my hair. I do not curl my brain.
The Democrats are running a communist who is a genocidal, Jew-hating, Nazi fascist for mayor of New York City. And he's probably going to win. And then everybody's going to be wearing armbands, and they're going to set up rail spurs to evacuate all the people that are going to the camps, because these guys are the bad guys. They're the villains, and nobody remembers anything about history. One of the things I've learned is that in the United States, it doesn't matter how many degrees you have, you know almost nothing about the history of the 20th century, the history of what got us to where we are here today. It's good to be a Democrat, because the less you know, the more of a Democrat you are. Amazing stuff. But I want to get some audio, because the troglodytes of Hamas, the murderers, the tunnel system there, it has been agreed that Hamas will disarm. But there is no evidence to suggest that Hamas has any intention of disarming. They're a terrorist army. They have how many miles of tunnels? I had to go look it up again today, because every time I think it, I'm like, is that really possible? And it is. It turns out that Hamas has how many miles of tunnel just under Gaza? 350 miles to 450 miles of tunnels, which were paid for with international money given to them so they could buy food for their needy children. Isn't that a great idea? Except they're terrorists. So guess what? They didn't buy food for needy children. By the way, everybody's fat there anyway. You saw they've been telling us that a famine has been going on for 2 years, and then President Trump brought an end to the fighting, and they're out in the street chanting, and really most of them should get Ozempic. Maybe the UN should send in a trainload of Ozempic for these people because, 350 to 450 miles and tens of thousands of entrances to get down to the tunnels all over the place. And this is all going to have to be destroyed. It's all going to have to be blown up. There are more than 5,700 separate shafts that descend into hell, according to the website at the Modern War Institute. 5,700 separate shafts getting down to the tunnels with hundreds and hundreds of miles. I think it's more than half of the number of miles they have in the New York City subway system. And they built it with what we call international money. Usually that means our money. And it's the old Lenin thing that the capitalists will sell you the rope with which to hang them. And the terrorists have adopted that. They're in bed with the commies and the lefties. That means the Democrat Party in the United States. But let me get some audio because President Trump was asked about this. And one of the sound bites we actually shared with you yesterday, but I've got updates for you. And the jihadis, here's my impression at this point. And my impressions are generally pretty good. Hamas has no intention of surrendering a single AK-47. They have no intention of disarming. That's not going to happen. First of all, if they did disarm, the people of Gaza might start killing them because these gangster savages have been terrorizing the people of Gaza for years, for decades. They, of course, they all voted for them. And for Hamas, the people of Gaza voted, hey, let's elect Hamas as our leadership. And so they did. And things have not turned out very well for them because it's like when the Germans elected the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler, in the 1930s, and it led to the 1940s, and things didn't go very well for the Germans. We came back in and rebuilt them again because we're so nice. But never mind that. The Hamasites, they are terrorists, murderers, kidnappers, rapists, torturers, and they're out there executing. What are they? 32 or 33 people executed in public yesterday by Hamas, and they were Palestinians. And interestingly, not a single Democrat in the United States pounded a table or said anything angry or made a sign or had a march. They're fine with Hamas murdering 32 of their neighbors or 33 of their neighbors. It's kind of hard to count with all the gunfire and the thudding of bodies hitting the ground, all that. But let's go to the audio. Let's go to President Trump. This is from day before yesterday, actually, on the question of the terrorist group Hamas disarming, which is phase 2. Phase 1 is ceasefire and release the hostages, right? And they still haven't released all the hostages. And one of the dead body hostages they released was actually a Palestinian guy from the West Bank who they murdered. And they gave the body back and said, hey, maybe they'll think it's one of theirs because they're stupid, corrupt, inbred, more than 40% inbred in the so-called Palestinian territories. And inbreeding is not good for the intelligence level. Let's go to President Trump. This is from day before yesterday.
We have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm or we will disarm them. Got it?
Got it. Now, there are a number of countries that have allegedly volunteered to contribute troops to this so-called peacekeeping, including Indonesia. Indonesia, I think the world's most populous, predominantly Muslim country is Indonesia. I think that's right. Isn't that right? I think that's right. And Azerbaijan, they've offered to send troops for peacekeeping in Gaza. Pakistan, as Democrats like to call it, that's Pakistan to normal people. Pakistan has said we'll send in troops. Indonesia, Azerbaijan, saying we will send in troops. And, we don't want our guys there because the savages, and who needs their festering boil on the buttocks of humanity, insinuating its way into our world again. Enough of you savages. Go and kill each other. How about that? We'll just fence it off like California and you lunatics. So we got that. Now, there are all kinds of crazy headlines on there. Again, here is the Times of Israel. Hamas said to kill over 30 Gazans, publicly execute 7, and that's in a row on their knees, executed, as it reasserts its grip on that'd be the Gaza Strip, right? So they're out there murdering people by the dozens very publicly. And the Democrats don't have a word to say about it because they never cared about death or murder or Gazans or Palestinians. They just want to be anti-American. Oh, President Trump's out there fighting crime, too. And the Democrats are very much pro-crime. And also a minister in Israel, Chikli, he said, Hamas will disarm or face new Israeli assault. That's the Jerusalem Post. Isn't that something? So they might have to go back in because the savages never give up. See what I'm saying? All right, let's get back to the audio because President Trump, that was day before yesterday, either disarm or they will be disarmed. And I think he might have said, or we will disarm them. So the Democrats would say, oh, no, Trump's going to get us into one of these Democrat wars that goes on forever and ever. What's the matter with him? But they had on CNN, they had a guy, a Democrat, member of the House of Representatives from Connecticut named Jim Himes, Democrat, Connecticut, member of Congress, the House of Representatives. And they said with this fake anchor, the fanker, Pam Brown, and she didn't get her job by being a good journalist. Let's just put it that way. Pam Brown talking to a Democrat, naturally giving him a little fluff job. Jim Himes, oh, no, Trump says that American troops are going to kill terrorists. We can't have that. At CNN, we're pro-terrorist.
Should the United States disarm Hamas even through force if it doesn't disarm itself?
That sounds an awful lot like boots on the ground. You don't have to be a military expert to know that if you're going to disarm thousands of people who have AK-47s in basements and tunnels, it probably involves boots on the ground, which I think is not something the American people are ready for.
Well, one of the things you get when you remove the hostages is now you can bomb the living hell out of them in the pits in the ground where the troglodytes choose to live. And that's what a troglodyte is. A troglodyte is a prehistoric humanoid that lives in pits and caves. And that's what these savages are. And once they're gone, 5,700 entrances to their 450 miles of tunnels. We're going to need a lot of bombs to drop down those things. They should be probably fiery. Should be very fiery bombs. It's amazing. Yeah, well, that sure sounds like boots on the ground. He doesn't care about Americans getting killed. He just wants to win political points and say Trump is bad because Orange Man bad in this. You got that Kathy Griffith lunacy today, too. These people are very, very disturbed people. President Trump then yesterday was asked again, the soundbite I played a minute ago is from day before yesterday, and President Trump again, the question of disarming the terrorists came up with the president again.
We want the weapons to be given up, sacrificed, and they've agreed to do it. Now they have to do it, and if they don't do it, we'll do it.
No reason for the U.S. military to get involved in Gaza?
No, I don't see that. No, I think we're going to handle it very well. We'll be helping Israel. But we have other countries that are now. We signed, many countries signed, and many of those countries relatively are very strong military powers. And Hamas has no support.
And Hamas has, and it is pretty true that Hamas has, the Saudis, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, nobody wants anything to do with the filthies from the Gaza because they know better. They already know. But Pakistan, Indonesia, Azerbaijan, hey, come on, bring them in. Those are countries that always offer up troops for United Nations missions because they make money off of it. They pay the United Nations, the United States, we pay these governments to send troops into UN missions, United Nations missions. And the troops make $1 a day, and we pay them $30 a day for the troops, something like that. So they're like, hey, we make $29 a day off of the slave labor troops that we send in. This has been going on for years. Kamala Harris, the woman who the Democrats said should be president of the United States, she is not getting any brighter. Got to tell you that. Kamala Harris was having a We Love Kamala Harris event at the beautiful Warner Theater in Washington, D.C., downtown, very close to Newsmax, very close to the White House. And the Warner Theater, Kamala Harris was having don't you love just coo and purr because Kamala's in the room. And then a Democrat stood up and started screaming about how Hamas is great and everybody else is terrible, being heckled by one of her own pals because, it's a Democrat because she wants to kill Israel and the Jews and she loves Hamas and the terrorists. This is Kamala Harris at the We Love Kamala Harris rally at the Warner Theater.
Kamala Harris, you are a right-wing war criminal! You are a right-wing...
White wing? A white genocide?
You are a war criminal! You sold out the youth! You sold out the climate! Shame on you!
The climate?
This is all your fault! This is your fault!
It's all your fault.
Trump! Because this is your fault!
You're a white wing war criminal. What is it? You're responsible for all of this. Not the terror group, not Hamas, not centuries of depravity, but Kamala Harris. I got to say, I got to come to the defense of Kamala Harris on this. Although the fact is, under the Biden administration, all the war broke out and all that. But this is the Democrats being Democrats, screaming, "You're a white wing war criminal." And who talks like that anyway?
Kamala Harris, you are a right-wing war criminal!
Right-wing. You funded genocide. Stop the genocide. You funded genocide. Stop the genocide. These people are demented.
This is all your fault. This is your fault. We have Trump because this is your fault.
We have Trump because it is your fault. This is all your fault. We have Trump because it's your fault. This is what the Democrats, they're severely mentally ill. Also, it should be noted that at an airport here in the United States of America, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, they had someone hack in, and as I understand it, I saw that they did this at several airports across the country, where Democrats who love terrorism and hate America hacked on Al Gore's amazing internet, peace be upon him. They hacked into the public address system, the PA system, at the airport in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And if you're minding your own business, and it's an international airport, they fly to Canada and maybe to Mexico too. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Yesterday, hackers, Democrats, broke into the PA system so they could sing the praises of Hamas and condemn the Jews.
Netanyahu and Trump. Turkish hacker Cyber Islam was here. Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
I love the voice, though.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine. Sounds almost sane for just a moment, doesn't she? She's not, but the Democrats, they hacked into the PA system at the airport, and they wanted to chant, free Palestine. I love the yellow zone is for the loading and unloading of passengers only. They got the same voice, got that lady to do the free Palestine. It's almost funny. They're quite insane. So Hamas, they're handing over bodies of people that are not even hostages. They forgot who they murdered. They murdered so many people. Isn't it amazing? They're not disarming. They're killing people. Speaking of which, I got to get to Zoran Mamdani, too. He did something of an interview yesterday, and some things have been revealed about him and the Democrat Party in the process. Not good news for humanity or for New York, but if this is what the Democrats want, then, I don't know, we should airdrop them ammunition. They can just wall the place off. It's going to be Escape from New York. We're going to have to send in Snake Plissken before we're done. We are at 888-630-9625. Yeah, wait do you hear Zohran Mamdani, the commie? And his father loves suicide bombers. Have you seen? He's a professor. Loves suicide bombers. And he loves Idi Amin. You know, the cannibal Idi Amin. He's not with us anymore. He was a very entertaining cannibal world leader. The Democrats love him. But update on Zohran Mamdani. Got all that going. Now let's go back to the telephones, Michael, and talk to the great American people. Let's talk to Dale, calling from beautiful Grand Rapids, Michigan. Dale, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, Dale.
It's an honor to talk to you. I've listened to you for a long time. My comment was going to be, you mentioned earlier about all the tunnels flowing underneath the Gaza.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking, maybe bombs will work, maybe they won't. But what I was commenting on was, why don't we get the biggest group of Navy pumper ships and anchor off from the shore and pump Mediterranean Sea into all the tunnels? It will destroy the guns, it will destroy the bombs, and it'll flush Hamas out like you would at rats in a farm. And I just thought that might be a good way to do it. Not too expensive and safer than, for the Air Force to do that. And I was just wondering if you think there's any possibility that would be considered.
I think that's a fun idea. I certainly hope they're considering it. And if they weren't already considering it, now that you've mentioned it here on the radio for the entire nation to hear, perhaps they'll. Because it is a great idea. Start pumping Mediterranean seawater into that. It's a lot of seawater too. It'd change the level of the oceans.
I know.
We'd have to bring Barack Obama in.
Yeah, it'll probably ruin some beachfront property, but I think that's the cost you have to incur to end this thing.
They've already ruined their 25 miles of beachfront property in Gaza. Should be beautiful. I've been to the beaches there just north of Gaza. You can go to the beaches in Tel Aviv, anywhere in Israel, beautiful beaches, umbrellas. You get a nice cocktail. And then you walk, a few minutes to the south, and suddenly, and we actually had this experience, my best girl and I, teenage boys running and diving off of a wall into the sea, screaming, Allahu Akbar, for their dive into the Mediterranean Sea. Later on, there were explosions and AK-47 fire, but after the splash.